Juste milieu, the right balance between the powers we invest in our law enforcement agencies and the human rights which make our Canadian lifestyle the best in the world.
Move on now to statements by members. Déclaration des députés. The Honourable Member for Saint Michel.
Mr. Speaker, in 1995, thousands of kids were born in Montreal, including my son, Carlo. 5 years later, my son and roughly 50 other kids signed up to play amateur hockey for the very first time in St. Leonard and got the benefit from my stellar coaching. One of those kids I coached, Anthony Duclair, made it to the NHL this year as a member of New York Rangers. Congratulations, Anthony. It would be easy to say I knew back then that he would make it. But the reality is that Anthony and his childhood teammates are just like millions of other young Canadian athletes. There's no way to tell where youth sports will take them. A select few will make it to the highest levels, while the vast majority won't. But this doesn't make some better than the others, because what really matters is that they all got the opportunity to learn important life skills through amateur sport. Anthony, through years of hard work, you've earned every bit of success you're achieving. I'm certain that your parents and everyone you've helped, that have helped you along the way, are filled with pride seeing you reach these new heights, myself included. To my son Carlo and all of Anthony's pre-novice teammates, the job market out there is pretty rough, so don't forget the life skills you've learned at the rink. You'll need them. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Tobic-Mactaquac.
Mr. Speaker, October saw the culmination of years of work when the Sergeant Mark Gallagher Memorial Vocational School opened in Haiti. The school educates students in agriculture, carpentry, masonry, secretarial, flooring, and tiling. When RCMP Sergeant Gallagher and many others were killed in the January 2010 earthquake in Haiti, it was a tragedy to the people of that country and to many New Brunswickers. Mark's concern for the youth of Haiti was carried on by a committed group called the Friends of Mark Gallagher, who envisioned building a school in Haiti in Mark's memory through a partnership with Les Petites Salles de Sainte-Thérèse. A massive local fundraising effort ensued, partnered with qualified NGOs like l'Association Québécoise pour l'Avancement des Nations Unies and our government through CEDA to turn the vision into reality. The Friends of Mark Gallagher, along with the Province of New Brunswick Community College Network, the RCMP, the Canadian Teachers Federation, the Woodstock Rotary Club, and Mark's family have seen their dream realized. Mr. Speaker, I'm happy to report that on October 13th, the school opened its doors to the first set of students, with the official opening set for next week. And the children, the very people who were on the mind of Mark Gallagher during his assignment with the RCMP in Haiti, will be the beneficiary of something good for many years to come.
The Honourable Member for Manicouagan. Last Friday, I celebrated National Child Day, an initiative of UNICEF Canada, with students from the Duboisé Primary School in Sept-Îles. My discussions with the Student Council were very topical. A number of issues were raised: politics, the environment, poverty, bullying and cyberbullying, the role of the family, peace and cooperation, and all of this showed how open and involved these children are in society. This bodes well for the future generation of eco-citizens. And that is the mandate they gave me when I came back to the Hill here. I'd like to thank the principal and the Student Council for this very rewarding interaction. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, with this Friday being Survivor of Suicide Loss Day, I would like to highlight an innovation that I believe will result in fewer deaths by suicide. My home of Waterloo Region is known for innovations in the high-tech and agricultural sectors, but today I highlighted innovation in mental health. Here 24/7 is the work of 12 local agencies and serves as a concierge service for people experiencing mental health challenges or suicidal ideation. They take care of the process, leaving the patient free to focus on healing. The first program of its kind in Ontario, Here 24/7, was launched on April 1st and expected to handle 31,000 cases over the year. Instead, they handled 37,000 cases in just their first 6 months. Here 24/7's story is typical for mental health across Canada. Non-profits on shoestring budgets performing heroics to meet a demand that is overwhelming. I challenge our community to support their work. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Saint-Laurent-Cartierville.
Canadian Museum Day. This is a day where we celebrate our museums, their importance and their vital link to our country's heritage.
We have to celebrate our museums for their beauty and their artistic wealth, for the enjoyment we get from them, the emotions that they awaken. We also have to celebrate them because they bring greater knowledge and extension of the classroom. They're like a storehouse of our collective memory, both Canadian history and other cultures. It's a contact with nature, a lever for tourism and economic development and scientific progress.
So that we can all become better legislators for Canadian museums. Thank you very much.
The Honourable Member for Kitchener-Waterloo.
Mr. Speaker, today members of the Canadian Life and Health Insurance Association are in Ottawa, and they're meeting with parliamentarians to discuss critical issues such as pensions and long-term care that impact the lives of all Canadians. Insurance companies across Canada play a vital role in our economy, ensuring financial security and protection to over 26 million Canadians. In my riding, Equitable Life, as well as Sun Life, Manulife, and Faith Life Financial are all major employers. They are also strong and dynamic partners who give back to the community through volunteer and charitable initiatives. The CLHIA is a strong voice for the sector, providing leadership on social policy issues and demonstrating a commitment to enhancing the well-being of families and communities. Mr. Speaker, I thank them for contributing to our nation's prosperity.
Well done. Well done.
The Honourable Member for Hamilton East, Stony Creek.
Mr. Speaker, all Hamiltonians are tremendously proud of our city. Recently dubbed the comeback kid of Canadian cities by the Ontario Business Report, Hamilton is well on its way to establishing a future that may well rival its impressive past. Quality, well-paying jobs have begun to return to our city, with more on the way. Hamilton Health Sciences network of 6 local hospitals is now the city's largest employer, accounting for 10,000 jobs. 12% of Hamilton's workforce is now employed in the healthcare and social services, while information and cultural industries employ about 13%. From Canada Bread to CAMMET, the federal government's material metals laboratory located in the McMaster Innovation Park, to the hundreds of millions of dollars invested by ArcelorMittal, Dofasco to upgrade its facilities across the city, to the revitalized arts communities in more neighbourhoods than I can name here. Hamilton is now seen as one of Canada's inspirational leaders in innovative development. We are so proud, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Niagara West, Glen.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to recognize the excellence and dedication of the men and women working within the Canadian Executive Service Organization, or CESO. For over 50 years, CESO volunteers have tirelessly donated their time towards helping create better lives and stronger economies worldwide. Made up of senior executives from the private and public sectors in Canada, with over 25 years of experience, CESO volunteer advisors are currently involved in over 47,000 assignments in 122 countries. In all of its projects worldwide, CESO looks to inspire positive social change and economic development where it's needed most. In Canada, CESO's Economic Development Capacity Building Program provides important services which help First Nations communities and businesses grow. Last year, 66 of its assignments were supported by community partnerships and private-public collaboration. It's through volunteers like David and Pat Evershed, who are here with us today, that help CESO in strengthening local institutions, help shape their own paths towards economic development. Mr. Speaker and honoured members, it is with great pride that I invite you to the CESO reception this evening to find out more about the stewardship and excellence of its dedicated volunteers.
The Honourable Member for London North Centre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm honoured to rise today to pay tribute to a group of amazing people from my riding of London North Centre, who are meeting with members of Parliament today. Since 1987, the Sunshine Foundation of Canada has been trusted by families and healthcare providers to make dreams come true for kids across the country. Sunshine is the only national Canadian charity fulfilling dreams for kids with severe disabilities or life-threatening illnesses, giving them the opportunity to build confidence as they see their dreams come true. Sunshine fulfills dreams in 2 ways: one-day whirlwind dream lift adventures that transport 80 children by plane to a Disney theme park. I had the honor, Mr. Speaker, of being at the very first one 25 years ago. They also fulfill individual dreams like meeting a hockey hero or having a customized racing chair or tricycle. If you had the great fortune to meet with one of Sunshine's team today, you will know just how deeply they care for Canada's kids. I welcome all members to drop by the Speaker's Lounge today at 4 o'clock to hear more about the great work being done. To the volunteers at Sunshine, thank you for caring and for giving kids the confidence to dream big.
The Honourable Member for Algoma, Manitoulin, Kapuskasing.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to pay tribute to organizations, businesses and individuals who give so much to ensure that people of all circumstances can celebrate the holidays. Today, I highlight the work of two remarkable women who have long histories of local activism and were worthy recipients of Queen's Jubilee medals. Elliott Lake's Darla Hennessy is well known for community work and as founder of the Christmas Store, which helps children find gifts for family members. The program has strong support from the community, including the City of Elliott Lake. Likewise, Mindamoya's Marion Seabrook created Shopping for Kids to help Manitoulin Island youth with gifts for their families. The program has support from the community, host Mindamoya United Church, and even places off-island because the spirit of giving has no boundaries. Unfortunately, Marion lost her battle with cancer a couple of days ago, but her legacy will carry on. Mr. Speaker, we extend our deepest sympathy to Marion's family and friends and also express our appreciation for people like Marion and Darla, who embody the spirit of giving that makes our communities much stronger.
The Honourable Member for Saskatoon, Rosetown, Bigger.
Mr. Speaker, today is Mining Day on the Hill. Our government is proud to support the mining sector, which provides good-paying jobs for over 400,000 Canadians, including over 10,000 Aboriginal people. It is clear that our government's plan for responsible resource development is working and helping to grow our economy. Canada remains the world's #1 destination for mineral exploration in the world and attracts 16% of global investment. Taken as a whole, the natural resource sector accounts for 1.8 million Canadian jobs and almost 1/5 of Canada's GDP. While the NDP bash every form of resource development and the Liberals randomly pick and choose which kind they like, our government stands firm in our support for the natural resource sector and the hard-working Canadian men and women it employs.
The Honourable Member for Charlebourg, Haute-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, over the past few weeks, I've been surprised to see how the people of Charlebourg, Haute-Saint-Charles have mobilized around mental health issues. The Quebec City Division of the Canadian Mental Health Association has only been in the riding for 5 months, and they've already organized an event, the Neighbours at Work Festival. The purpose of this event is to improve the quality of life of workers battling one of the leading causes of absenteeism, mental health issues. I'd also like to point out the presence of a group of young people from Saint-Jean-Eudes School who are taking part in the National Youth Anti-Stigma Summit. We can be proud of these new ambassadors who will be agents of change in Canadian society.
Member for Richmond Hill.
Mr. Speaker, hard-working families in my riding of Richmond Hill are applauding our Prime Minister's announcement of our government's family tax cut, which will benefit every family across our great nation. Under our family tax cut, every family with children will have more money to spend on their priorities as a family. The majority of the benefits will go to low and middle-income families. For instance, Mr. Speaker, a single mother with 2 children earning $30,000 will benefit by a whopping $1,500 per year. But the Liberal leader promised to reverse this tax relief and force hard-working middle-class families to pay more. We reject the Liberal leader's high tax policies. Our Conservative government has kept our promise to families, and we continue to stand with them, Mr. Speaker. After all, we know there are only 2 people who know what's best for their kids, Mom and Dad.
The Honourable Member for Mount Royal.
Mr. Speaker, early this morning in Jerusalem, 2 Palestinian men wielding knives, axes, and guns stormed a synagogue, killing 4 people and injuring 8, including 1 Canadian. This brutal attack is part of a recent escalation in terrorist violence. Indeed, on the day of the terrorist attack in this house, a terrorist attack killed a 3-month-old baby in Jerusalem and others since. Moreover, this escalation cannot be divorced from the incitement to hate and violence and the glorification of terror propagated by much of the Palestinian media and leadership, and where Palestinian Authority officials have praised terrorists as quote-unquote heroic martyrs, declared that Jerusalem needs blood to purify itself of Jews, while Hamas celebrated the attack. And President Abbas' Facebook page today announced that Canada was being distributed in celebration of it. Mr. Speaker, I join with all honourable members in offering our heartfelt condolences to the victims of today's attack, while we call for an end to incitement, an end to the glorification of terror, an end to the terror itself, and a commitment to peace and non-violence. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Burlington.
Mr. Speaker, and as my colleague said a few moments ago, we want parents to keep their hard-earned income, not the government. Under our family tax cut, every single parent with children in Canada will be better off. The average benefit is over $1,100, and every parent will now receive nearly $2,000 per child from the Enhanced Universal Child Care Benefit. But the Liberal leader would reverse that tax relief. And the Liberal leader even said Canadians could be convinced by him to accept a tax hike. Mr. Speaker, perhaps the Liberal leader should explain why he thinks he is better qualified to spend parents' money than them. Our Conservative government is proud of putting money back into the pockets of Canadian families where it belongs, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Alfred Pellan. Mr. Speaker, last week in Winnipeg, our leader got a hero's welcome at the Childcare 2020 conference. After 30 years of broken Liberal and Conservative promises, Canadian families finally have some hope with the NDP plan to create 370,000 affordable childcare spots. The Liberals came up empty-handed. Their leader didn't even deign to attend the conference. Only Ken Dryden was there to witness the latest Liberal shipwreck and their inability to deliver an affordable childcare program. While the Liberals dilly-dally and the Conservatives propose regressive policies like income splitting that only helps 15% of the richest Canadians, we in the NDP are working hard to make life affordable for all Canadian families. By creating these new 370,000 childcare places, families will finally have some breathing room and more women will be able to get paid jobs. The choice is clear. The Conservatives running out of steam, the fossilized Liberals, or the first ever NDP government who listens to the needs of Canadian families.
Honourable member for Edmonton Centre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today in Ottawa, we have the pleasure of welcoming Her Royal Highness Princess Mabel van Orange of the Netherlands, HoC Dialchan, and Amina Hanga from Girls Not Brides, the global partnership to end child marriage. I had the privilege of hearing their testimony today at the Foreign Affairs Committee. Girls Not Brides is a worldwide initiative with more than 400 members who are working in over 60 countries whose aim is to combat and end early forced marriage. Forced marriage puts the lives of young girls at risk, denies their rights, disrupts their access to education, and severely jeopardizes their health, undermining the development of communities and entire countries. Recognizing the devastating effects of child and early forced marriage, our government has made it a priority to combat this awful practice. I'm proud to say that under this government's leadership, Canada made history by introducing the first standalone resolution on child early forced marriage at the United Nations General Assembly. Girls around the world deserve to live their lives to the fullest, free of child and early forced marriages. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Oral questions, questions orales. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, in 1984, Brian Mulroney promised a national child care plan and delivered exactly 0 spaces. In 1993, Jean Chrétien promised a national child care plan, and after 13 years in office, the Liberals delivered exactly 0 spaces. In 2006, the Prime Minister discovered at least the merits of announcing a child care policy, and he said that he would deliver, precise fellow that he is, exactly 125,000 childcare spaces in Canada. Can the Prime Minister tell us, after 9 years in office, precisely how many of those 125,000 childcare spaces has he actually delivered?
Right, Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, well, the NDP talks about how it can serve maybe 10% of Canadian families at best. This government has announced measures just a couple of weeks ago that will benefit over 4 million Canadian families. Mr. Speaker, this government will continue to act for the benefit of all Canadian families.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
I didn't hear an answer from the Prime Minister, Mr. Speaker. I'll give him a hint. The answer on the number of childcare spaces created by the Conservatives begins with a Z. And by the way, if the Prime Minister thinks today that it's such a bad idea, why did he promise it to Canadians to get elected in 2006?
The Prime Minister gave the Canadians a choice, either more money for the rich or more money for the rich. Is that really what he promised them, the Right Honourable Prime Minister? Mr. Speaker, this government promised to give money to more than 4 million Canadian families. The NDP, Mr. Speaker, has promised to take that money back from those families, and that's the difference between socialists and us Conservatives. Leader of the Opposition. In 2015, the Prime Minister is promising to give money to the 15% of the wealthiest families. We are promising $15 a day daycare spaces. That's the difference.
As much as $2,000 a month for childcare. As young people are graduating with massive student debt, heading into a morose market for young people, they're worried about whether or not they can afford to have kids. The Prime Minister promised he'd wait until the budget was balanced before more tax breaks for the rich. Why is he borrowing $3.1 billion to pay for yet another tax giveaway for the wealthy few?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Well, once again, of course, Mr. Speaker, we all know the facts. Over 4 million Canadian families will benefit from the policies that we have announced. But, Mr. Speaker, the reason the NDP continues to oppose this and misrepresent it is because it hates money in the pockets of ordinary working families. It wants that money to go to bureaucrats and go to unions. Well, guess what, Mr. Speaker? Under our government, it's going to real working Canadians.
Order. Order. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
In fact, Mr. Speaker, the pockets they took the money out of is what counts. They took this from the EI fund. The Liberals stole $50 billion from the EI fund, and the Conservatives have taken $7 billion more. So there is a bogus surplus of $3.8 billion that comes from workers. Those are the pockets that money came from, and that's the issue. They are the reverse of Robin Hood. Are they proud of the fact that they're taking from the poor to give to the rich? Mr. Speaker, what is the truth about the NDP? Well, they want to hike up EI premiums, so it will cost $6 billion.
They want to raise by billions of dollars employment insurance premiums. Under this government, employment insurance premiums will be falling.
Leader of the Opposition. Mr. Speaker, last week, my colleague from Hull Aylmer and I wrote to the Prime Minister and to the Leader of the Liberal Party to propose an anti-harassment policy for the Parliament Hill. I know that you are studying the issue, Mr. Speaker. Obviously, you are only the servant of this House and you have to follow the rules and instructions of this chamber. I'd like to ask the Prime Minister if he's going to support our proposals for dealing with harassment.
Has he reviewed our proposal for dealing with workplace harassment on the Hill, and will he support it?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, sexual harassment is obviously a very serious matter. I can't comment on the particular cases because I frankly know nothing of the facts, but I can tell you that the government has had policies in place for this for some time. I gather the Board of Internal Economy and the Procedure and House Affairs Committees are looking at that. We would be pleased to share our existing policies with those bodies.
The Honourable Member for Papineau.
Mr. Speaker, tonight this House begins debate on the Transparency Act, a positive step towards more open government. It strengthens our access to information system and makes the Board of Internal Economy open by default. We hope for all party support, and in that spirit are very open to amendments and improvements. Will the Prime Minister support sending this bill to committee for study?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, it's kind of rich to hear the leader of the Liberal Party talking about transparency. Mr. Speaker, that's the party that voted against the Federal Accountability Act, that opposed union transparency, and that opposed transparency on First Nations reserves. Mr. Speaker, this government will continue to move forward on transparency.
Honourable Member for Papineau.
Personally went to Copenhagen in 2009. There, he made a commitment on behalf of Canada to reduce our carbon pollution 17% below 2005 levels. Will Canada achieve the commitments that the Prime Minister made to the world in Copenhagen? Yes or no?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
I'm very surprised, Mr. Speaker. The Liberals would want to raise the issue of carbon emissions. Under the Liberal government, they promised to reduce carbon emissions by an enormous amount and raise them by over 30%. And Mr. Speaker, under this government, for the first time in Canadian history, the carbon emissions have actually fallen. We view the recent agreement between China and the United States as a very positive step towards the Paris conference in 2015. We look forward to working with our partners in the international community.
The Honourable Member for Papineau. Last week, the United States and China agreed on commitments to fight against climate change. Canada's reputation is once again being strongly tested. Rather than finding solutions, this government prefers to muzzle scientists. Will the Prime Minister explain what he will do, given that clearly he will not respect his own Copenhagen commitments? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, the Liberal Party signed an international agreement without any targets for China or the United States. That's the reason why we rejected that protocol, Mr. Speaker. Since we came to power, we have asked for an international agreement that would be mandatory for all major emitters. Now, there's new agreement between China and the U.S. is a very promising step, and we are waiting impatiently to work with our international partners. Honourable Member for Portneuf-Jacques-Cartier. Mr. Speaker, whereas the Minister claims that no decision has been taken, the Pentagon maintains that the Conservatives want to buy at least 4 F-35 jet fighters. The Conservative government is preparing to spend billions of dollars without Canadians and Parliament being aware. But it's precisely this lack of transparency and their inability to control costs that put an end to the previous program. Clearly, they have not learned from their mistakes. Why does the Minister refuse to tell the truth to Canadians concerning the F-35 acquisition? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Mr. Speaker, as the member knows very well that no decision's been made. Any statements from the Pentagon are false. We have to ensure that our men and women in uniform have the equipment they need so that they're able to do the work we're asking them to do. And that's also why that we said that the CF-18s will be extended until 2025. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, how is it that despite official denials, the government is down in Washington organizing an early production date for F-35s? The Pentagon didn't say that these documents were wrong, that the presentation was wrong. They said it was, quote, for official use only. They said it was, quote, to inform future decisions regarding Canada's F-35 acquisition. The document does state, for that this proposed swap to happen, the Conservatives will have to deliver a letter of intent this month. Will the government be doing that?
Oh, good question.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Any declarations to the effect that we've purchased 4 F-35s are completely incorrect. We've made no decision on replacing the CF-18 at this time, and we'll always ensure that the brave men and women in uniform have the equipment they need to do the job. I'll also add, Mr. Speaker, that that's why the CF-18 has been life extended to the year 2025. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Timmins, James Bay.
Mr. Speaker, since 2009, the Conservatives spent over $100 million of taxpayers' funds in self-promoting advertising while telling seniors and veterans that the cupboard is bare. But Canadians aren't hoodwinked. The government's own polling shows that taxpayers are sick and tired of this money being wasted on self-partisan self-glorification. But now the Conservatives are turning the taps on again, doing the ads to promote their income-splitting scheme that only benefits the wealthy. So simple question, Will the minister tell this House how much money is being wasted on this pre-electoral partisan binge?
The Honourable Minister of Employment.
Mr. Speaker, only the NDP could refer to a massive tax benefit for working Canadian families as a binge, a benefit that will provide up to $2,000 of direct tax relief for families, treating families as an economic unit that will increase the universal child care benefit from $1,000 to $1,700 a year, that will provide it to children between the ages of 7 and 18 years of age, that together constitutes a total net benefit of over $1,200 for the average family. 4 million families, 100% of families with kids are going to benefit from this government's package.
The Honourable Member for Pontiac. The Conservatives can give us all the excuses they want. These and ads to promote their vote-getting gimmicks on income splitting are partisan ads paid for by taxpayers. What is more, the Conservatives don't even want to tell us how much this propaganda cost. For goodness sakes, Mr. Speaker, it makes no sense. Like the Liberals with their sponsorships, the Conservatives are trying to bribe Canadians with their own money. It's obscene, Mr. Speaker. Will the minister finally tell us how much these useless, partisan and misleading ads have cost? Minister of Employment. Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, the honourable member is quite wrong. We have to inform Canadian families of the fact that they will be eligible to receive new benefits for universal health care for their children between the ages of 7 and 18. Mr. Speaker, this is part of a package of funds that will give benefits of some $1,100 per family for families with children under the age of 18 who receive these benefits under this reform. So we have to inform Canadians about the great advantages of this package.
Now, we know the Minister of Immigration doesn't like refugees, but yesterday demonstrated his utter contempt for all Canadians. Instead of acknowledging his failure to meet his government's promise to bring 1,300 additional Syrian refugees, the minister back-counted refugees from 3 previous years. Instead of admitting he broke his promise, he bizarrely claimed he over-fulfilled it, whatever that means, Mr. Speaker. Will the minister abandon his mean-spirited attempts to mislead Canadians and finally live up to Canada's promises?
The Honourable Minister of Citizenship and Immigration.
Mr. Speaker, here are the facts. 1,800 Syrians in Canada since the start of the conflict. We have over-fulfilled our commitment to bring government-assisted refugees to this country. That was 200. We've brought many more. Private sponsorships are way up in recent months. We are expecting a lot of progress on that front. But here's what the opposition, Mr. Speaker, doesn't want you to hear, doesn't want Canadians to hear. Mr. Speaker, in 2009, we committed to bring 20,000 Iraqis to this country as resettled refugees. We've met that target 1 year early.
The Honourable Member for Davenport.
The minister's pretend outrage can't hide the fact that he keeps changing his numbers, showing his disdain for the basic Canadian value of helping the most vulnerable. Mr. Speaker, he's refusing to live up to his promises on Syrian refugees, refusing to drop his expensive court battle against refugee help. Now he wants to take social assistance away from refugees. When will the minister finally stop these blatant attacks on refugees?
The Honourable Minister of Citizenship and
Sad to see the NDP backtracking again this week, claiming that we have denied refugees health care, when that is patently false, Mr. Speaker. Health care remains in place. We're appealing the decision of the court with which we have complied. That decision, which the NDP celebrates, Mr. Speaker, is going to require us to give better health care than Canadians actually receive to failed claimants, to fraudulent claimants. We're the only party, Mr. Speaker, that can be counted upon to stand up for refugees and the interests of Canadian taxpayers.
Honourable Member for St. Albert. Mr. Speaker, it's just embarrassing to see just how useless the Conservatives' response to the humanitarian crisis in Syria is. There are millions of refugees, millions, And the only thing being promised is that they will try to receive a few thousand more. And even at that, we're not keeping our promise. The minister has to stop inflating the figures with the 2011 admission figures and tell Canadians the truth. Why did we only accept 200 government-assisted refugees? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, we have gone beyond the promises. 1,800 Syrians are already in Canada. 20,000 Iraqis have been arriving in Canada since 2009, and this is a record Canadians are proud of. Our question, Mr. Speaker, is if the NDP is at all concerned about the fate of Syrian refugees, the millions of them, why are they not prepared to do the smallest thing to revoke passports, to do the least thing to fight against what's going on abroad, the least thing to concentrate on a humanitarian effort. Our government is doing all of those things. The Honourable Member for St. Lambert. Mr. Speaker, we are expecting from this minister that he gives us answers, not that he asks questions. Is urgent. The crisis in Syria is happening now. As we speak, there are millions of people, women, children, families that are in an extremely precarious situation. We do not want to know how many Syrians have arrived in Canada in 2011. What we want to know is what the minister is doing to resettle them in 2014. They're then taking their health care away. What can the minister tell us, finally, about what Canada is doing to help the Syrian people, clearly? The Honourable Minister of Immigration. It's clear, Mr. Speaker. Almost 22,000 Syrian and Iraqi refugees are in Canada thanks to the efforts of this government. Canada is one of the most significant donor countries in response to the humanitarian crises in Syria and in Iraq. And what's also very clear, Mr. Speaker, is that the NDP doesn't want to do anything, nothing, militarily to counter the Islamic State and to combat these militants who are the source of all of these problems and the misery of these millions of people. That's unacceptable, Mr. Speaker, and Canadians know it.
Burnaby, New Westminster.
It's no wonder the minister's having trouble with the facts, like last night on national radio, because the facts are very embarrassing for this government. In response to a crisis generating millions of vulnerable refugees, this government agreed to take in a very small number, and then they failed to even meet that commitment, Mr. Speaker. And bizarrely, ineptly, this minister tried to cover it all up and repeatedly misled Canadians. It's time to make amends. When will the minister finally meet his own commitment to resettle an additional 1,300 Syrian refugees in Canada? When will he keep his promise to those refugees?
The Honourable Minister of Immigration. Mr. Speaker, it's like talking to some kind of Kafkaesque conversation partner. We have received 1,800 Syrian refugees in this country, Mr. Speaker. That's more than 1,300. And we have received 20,000 Iraqis in this country, Mr. Speaker. That's more than any other country. What does the NDP not understand about these numbers?
The Honourable Member for Toronto Centre.
Mr. Speaker, many young Canadians have given up looking for full-time work in the face of stagnant wages and a dire job market. According to the Canadian Federation of Students, 300,000 young Canadians are actually working for free. When you add together discouraged young job seekers, those forced to work part-time, and unpaid interns, you get an unemployment and underemployment rate of almost 28%. Wow. That is shameful. Why does the government have no plan for our lost generation of young Canadians?
And the Honourable Minister of Employment.
First of all, Mr. Speaker, happily, the youth unemployment rate in Canada is significantly below the average in the developed world. It is below the average of what it was under the previous Liberal government. And, of course, this country has seen significant job creation, over 1.2 million net new jobs since the global economic downturn. We're making significant enhancements to help young people get employed, including of promoting apprenticeships, which there are actually skill shortages in this country in many occupations, and we're trying to encourage provincial educators and training programs and employers to invest more in youth training so that they can go into good-paying lifetime careers, for example, in the trades, Mr. Speaker, through the Apprenticeship Incentive Grant and Completion Grant, of which we've delivered more than 100,000, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for King's Hands.
Speaker, Stats Canada tells us that there are 200,000 fewer jobs for young Canadians than in 2008. And instead of helping, the Conservatives have actually introduced a flawed EI tax credit that rewards firms for firing workers. This is what the Canadian Centre for Policy Alternatives said recently. Quote, why not just fire your summer student or cut back her hours to get yourself under the cap? Your reward for firing a student, a tax break. And that's also what Jack Mintz, economist, has said, that this job credit creates a disincentive for hiring and an incentive for firing. Why don't the Conservatives help young Canadians instead of a flawed job tax credit that actually hurts them?
The Honourable Minister of Employment.
Well, what a tragedy to see the member for King Hants now resorted to quoting a union NDP think tank, Mr. Speaker. The same member who used to support income splitting, he used to support lower taxes, Mr. Speaker. Now he supports more reckless spending, endless deficits, the kind of policies that lead to killing jobs. This government has brought the federal tax burden down to its lowest level in 60 years. We have helped provide training opportunities to over 6 million young Canadians. We have created the apprenticeship incentive and completion grants, the Canada Apprenticeship Loan. We are doing more than any government to support youth in finding employment.
The honourable member for King's Hands.
Mr. Speaker, I wasn't aware that Jack Mintz was a union leader, but with over 200,000 fewer jobs for young Canadians than before the downturn, young Canadians aren't getting the work experience they need. Governor Paulos says that high youth underemployment and unemployment is hurting their chances for future success. But he suggested the wrong solution, and that was unpaid work. A better way to offer young Canadians meaningful job experience is actually through government programs that can pay young people and get jobs and experience at the same time. So why is the government last summer creating half the number of summer jobs for young Canadians than in 2000?
The Honourable Minister of Employment.
Well, Mr. Speaker, first of all, Jack Mintz actually supported this government's job-creating EI premium payroll tax cut. Secondly, I have to correct myself. I said earlier that we provided Canada apprenticeship grants to over 100,000 young Canadians. In fact, the real number, it's over 500,000. Mr. Speaker, I apologize. But, Mr. Speaker, isn't it? He suggests that we should provide paid learning opportunities on the work site. That's exactly what we are doing through the new Canada Job Grant being implemented by all 13 provinces and territories. Why were the Liberals against the Canada Job Grant, Mr. Speaker?
The honourable member for Drummond. Mr. Speaker, a report released this week bears witness to the total failure of this and previous governments concerning the protection of threatened species. Of the 369 plant and animal species identified as being endangered in 1997, 115 have seen their population decline, 202 are still endangered. And so why doesn't the government take the protection of threatened species seriously? Honourable Minister of the Environment.
Is committed to protecting and preserving our rich biodiversity. We are quickly addressing the backlog and mess left from years of Liberal inactions. Thanks to our hard work and investments, we have posted a significant number of recovery strategies or management plans for a number of species over the last few years. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Halifax.
Mr. Speaker, habitat loss causes extinction, and researchers have found that of 221 threatened or endangered species, only 56 had their critical habitat identify, let alone protect it. And in fact, concerned citizens have had to drag this government to court just to force them to follow their own endangered species laws. And still, the Conservatives continue to cut enforcement and funding. So when will this minister commit the resources that are needed to protect endangered species?
The Honourable Minister of the Environment.
Mr. Speaker, our government is committed to protecting our environment, and that is why we launched a new national conservation plan that will enable Canadians to conserve and restore land and water and enhance the connections between citizens and natural spaces. We've also created 2 national marine conservation areas, 3 marine protected areas, 3 national wildlife areas, 4 national parks, 1 national historic site. The total of the land we have protected is an area that is more than twice the size of Vancouver Island. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Halifax.
The minister says she's committed to protecting the environment. She should know that while the world is stepping up action to reduce emissions, Canada is falling behind. Environment Canada has shown that the Conservatives are set to miss our 2020 target by at least 20%. So the parliamentary secretary to the Minister of Environment responded yesterday by saying, quote, well, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. Does the minister believe that this is just her department's opinion, or will she actually admit to climate change caused by humans being a fact?
The Honourable Minister of the Environment.
Mr. Speaker, we have always said for any international agreements to reduce global greenhouse gas emissions, all major economies and emitters must do their part, with the United States and China accounting for 39% of the global greenhouse gas emissions. We are very encouraged to see they're taking action as Canada emits less than 2%. Mr. Speaker, we will continue to play our part by reducing emissions here at home and working with our partners across the globe to establish an international agreement that includes all major emitters without introducing a carbon tax.
The Honourable Member for Rimouski-Neigette-Témiscouata Basque. Mr. Speaker, TransCanada's strategic plan to promote its pipeline in Quebec was released today, and we learned that the company is considering employing aggressive tactics to win support for its project. This company has access to immense resources to promote its project, whereas the citizens in eastern Quebec are worried about their environment and they feel like no one is listening to them. What is the government going to do to ensure that the citizens and the municipalities concerned are heard? Honourable Minister of Natural Resources. Mr. Speaker, contrary to the opposition, we are not going to take any position until the review is concluded. It is the National Energy Board is responsible for hearing people who are directly concerned, who have relevant information or know-how or expertise in this area. We base ourselves on science and the facts and not on ideology to make decisions. We have been clear. Projects will only be studied, or rather be accepted, unless only if they are safe for Canadians and the environment.
Vancouver South.
Mr. Speaker, can the Minister of National Defence please provide the House with an update on Operation Impact and Canada's ongoing mission to confront and degrade the military capacities of the terrorist group ISIL?
Thank you. Honourable Minister of National Defence.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, yesterday, 4 RCAF fighter jets, as part of a larger coalition operation, conducted airstrikes against ISIL positions in the vicinity of Mosul in northern Iraq. During this mission, our fighter jets delivered 8 500-pound bombs on an ISIL warehouse facility that was being used for manufacturing explosive devices. All 8 bombs hit their targets, and they did so simultaneously. This is a testament to the skill and professionalism of our armed forces. As always, Canada is doing its part in the fight against ISIL terrorists.
The Honourable Member for Longueuil, Pierre Boucher. Mr. Speaker, everyone knows now that 9 of the 12 members of the CBC Board of Directors are donors to the Conservative Party. And what a surprise, the Heritage Committee members yesterday received a notice of a new appointment. Ms. Sonia Chong, who gave $1,000 to the Conservative Party, will replace Mr. Peter Charbonneau, whose major fault was he had never donated to the Conservative Party. How can the minister claim that CBC is independent where she continues to stack the board of directors with Conservative supporters? The Honourable Minister of Canadian Heritage. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And as I said earlier, the appointments made by our government are done after a rigorous and transparent selection process based on skills. The objective is to appoint the most qualified candidates for each position and to reflect the diversity of our country's language and our regions. The government does not interfere with the democratic rights of the members of the board of directors, and I would repeat again, Mr. Speaker, the problem with CBC is because of the decline of viewers and the audience. It is because of the viewing universe that has changed. So we are going to continue. Honourable Member for Longueuil-Pierre-Boucher. CBC doesn't need another Conservative on its board of directors. It needs directors who care about the public broadcaster, period. The Quebec Minister of Intergovernmental Affairs also sent a clear message to the minister by pointing out that Canada has always respected and supported its founding minority. But these recent cuts are breaking with this tradition. It's unbelievable. Will the minister reinstate CBC's resources so it can respect its mandate, offer local content, regional and national news in French from coast to coast to coast? The Honourable Minister.
Repeated several times in this House, the CBC receives over $1 billion from taxpayers. And in fact, their viewership has declined despite getting over $1 billion in direct subsidies every single year from taxpayers. Changes at the CBC are as a result of both declining viewership and declining revenues. And the CBC is responsible for their own choices. It is up to them to produce, both in English and French, programming that Canadians want to watch and see.
The member for Sackville Eastern Shore.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Since this government took power in 2006 to the end of 2013, $1.1 billion of appropriated money from the budgets of this government has not been spent on Department of Veterans Affairs. They sent that money back to the Finance Department for their future tax schemes for the wealthy in this country. Mr. Speaker, on my desk, I have veterans who have been denied hearing aids, denied access to hospitals. We have an increased rate of suicides. Many veterans are now homeless. Over and over again, Mr. Speaker, we have these veterans across the country who are suffering great difficulty. The money is there in the department to allocate for these heroes of our country, but yet the minister returns that money back to the Finance Department. My question is, why?
The Honourable Minister of Veterans Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, since 2006, our combined investment to Veterans Affairs has reached almost $30 billion more. And, Mr. Speaker, what does that mean? It means improved rehabilitation for Canadian veterans. It means more counselling for veterans' families. It means more money for veterans' higher education and retraining. It means we care deeply about our veterans, Mr. Speaker. And if that member and his party would vote in support of these programs, we would be far better off, as would the veterans.
Speaker,
I want to tell the minister and the Conservative government that when the member from Outremont becomes the Prime Minister of Canada, we're going to fix these problems once and for all for the veterans of our country. Now, Mr. Speaker, we have reservists who are treated differently than regular force. We have many RCMP members that can't get the help they need. And yet, Mr. Speaker, the money is there in the budget to help these men and women. They close veterans' offices across the country as cost-cutting measures, and they return that money back to the Finance Department. Mr. Speaker, the veterans of this country and their families are sick and tired of the delays of benefits that they require, because a benefit delayed is a benefit denied. When will this government allocate those funds to help the heroes of our country?
The Honourable Minister of Veterans Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, I respect deeply the concern that the honourable member across the way expresses on the issues of veterans. However, it's totally contradictory to the last 8 budgets where we've put in place veterans assistance and programs, funding and services. That party has consistently voted against that.
The
Honourable Member for Beausejour. Mr. Speaker, on Sunday, 200 people gathered at the CBC HoC offices in Moncton to tell the government that enough is enough. On the occasion of the tragic events in Moncton in June, we saw the consequences of the Conservatives' cuts because LDE and CBC did not have the resources to support their excellent journalists in Moncton. This fall, 9 other positions were cut in Radio-Canada Acadie, and that will make things worse. When will this government understand that enough is enough? The Honourable Minister of Canadian Heritage. Mr. Speaker, our thoughts and prayers are with the families of the victims and those who were affected by the tragedy in Moncton. But the changes to CBC have nothing to do with what happened on that day. As I said earlier, CBC is drawing a lower and lower viewership, even though they receive more than $1 billion each year in terms of direct subsidies from the taxpayers. Now, it is up to the CBC to make their own decisions and to offer programming to Canadians in French and English.
For Scarborough-Guildwood.
Mr. Speaker, the United States is going to meet its 2020 Copenhagen targets. The Government of Canada, however, is not going to meet its 2020 Copenhagen targets. Last week, President Obama set new, more aggressive targets in his deal with the Chinese. If the Government of Canada can't even meet its 2020 targets, by what means of fanciful thinking does it think that it can meet the new, more aggressive 2025 targets? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
And the Honourable Minister of the Environment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Canada has one of the cleanest electricity systems in the world, with 79% of our electricity supply emitting no greenhouse gas emissions. We have taken actions on 2 of the largest sources of emissions in Canada, the transportation sector and the electricity generated sector. Canada also became the first major coal user to ban the construction of traditional coal-fired generation units. Canada's per capita greenhouse gas emissions are now at their lowest level since we started recording in 1990, and the total emissions will go down by close to 130 megatons from what they would have been under the Liberals. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for London Fanshawe.
Mr. Speaker, a new report from the College of Family Physicians of Canada highlights the failure of federal leadership under the Conservatives when it comes to improving care for our seniors. New Democrats believe that all seniors should be able to live in dignity and security. It's about priorities and intelligent planning. But the Conservatives have failed to act to fix gaps in home care. Will the minister finally recognize these repeated calls and commit to implement the NDP's proposal for a national seniors strategy?
The Honourable Minister of State for Seniors.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. No other government has done much for the seniors than our government under the leadership of the Prime Minister. We believe that we work for actions. That is why we have done an action plan for seniors with 22 different departments. And with that report, we knew that we are doing well. And we have lowered the taxes for seniors. We have increased funding for GIS. We have also encouraged healthy, active aging. And that is why our seniors love us, but not the NDP.
The Honourable Member for Hochelaga. 75% of Canadians, 75% believe that the federal government does not do enough to support provinces in the area of home care. This is a testament to its lack of vision and leadership, whereas the need for home care is growing constantly. The College of Family Physicians is now calling on the federal government to devise a home care strategy. That's good timing, because the NDP has one all ready to go. Will the Conservatives support us and adopt a genuine strategy to ensure that our seniors have access to home care? The Honourable Minister of State.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In 2007, our government created the National Seniors Council, and I commend them for their hard work on matters related to the well-being and quality of life for seniors. This includes working on issues such as elder abuse, volunteering among seniors, positive active aging, and senior participation in the workforce. This year, I directed the NSC to study a new priority of social isolation among seniors, and I look forward to that report. This is exactly what we've done for our great seniors.
The honourable member for Thornhill.
Mr. Speaker, early this morning we learned of an attack against a synagogue in West Jerusalem. This cowardly act took the lives of 4 people and left 9 injured. Mr. Speaker, attacks on innocent worshippers in what is supposed to be a place of peace and tranquility are cowardly and must never be tolerated. Those who incite or morally support these outrages cannot evade responsibility for their role in these cowardly acts. Can the Minister of Foreign Affairs please comment on today's tragic event?
The Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Prayers go out to the families and loved ones of those that came under attack. When people go to worship at a synagogue, a church, or a mosque, they expect to be able to do so in peace. And we stand with the people of Israel in this barbarous attack. We are tremendously concerned about the incitement and want to speak out very strongly against all the incitement which only contributes to these type of barbaric terrorist attacks. Our thoughts and prayers are with all the Israeli people, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable member for Labrador.
For where?
Labrador.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Over 1,000 constituents of mine have launched a court action against the federal government related to abuses suffered by Aboriginal students at residential schools in Newfoundland and Labrador. These schools were not included in the Indian residential school apology, even though they resulted in many of the same social and private suffering that we saw in other parts of Canada. Why is the government shirking its fiduciary duty to the Aboriginal people of Labrador?
The Honourable Minister of Aboriginal Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, the fact of the matter is that Canada, along with many parties, have reached an agreement on the settlement of residential school victims, and that the people in question to which the honourable member refers were in a part of our great country that was not part of Canada at the time. This issue is before the court, and by respect for the court, I will not comment further.
The honourable member for Berthier-Masquinongé. Mr. Speaker, the Trans-Pacific Partnership negotiations are entering their home stretch. New Zealand and the United States are calling on Canada to give up supply management, and yet the minister is telling us that everything is fine. The stability of supply management allows Canada to maintain 250,000 jobs in the dairy industry across the country. Does the government once again intend to sacrifice dairy producers in the name of free trade, or will they protect free supply management, which is so vital to our regions? The Honourable Minister of State. Mr. Speaker, I will be pleased to repeat what I said last week to my colleague who was with us in Quebec City when we met people in the dairy and cheese industry. Our government has signed 38 free trade agreements, and we have already always preserved supply management, and we promote it on the international stage. Mr. Speaker, the people who were with us, the people in the dairy and cheese industry, agree with us, and they are behind this government, and we will continue to defend those people as we always have, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Calgary Centre.
Strongly condemns the aggressive actions of Vladimir Putin and the illegal occupation of Crimea. And that's exactly why we're supporting Ukraine in the face of these hostilities. We've already sent 4 CF-18 fighter jets. We've sent the HMCS Toronto to NATO Maritime Forces, and we sent approximately 120 CAF members to Eastern Europe for training exercises. Will the Minister of National Defence please tell us what are the latest actions undertaken by the Canadian Armed Forces in Operation Reassurance?
The Honourable Minister of National Defence.
Mr. Speaker, we are providing training and non-lethal equipment and supplies to the Ukrainian government as part of our contribution to NATO's reassurance package. I can also say that last week, 2 Royal Canadian Air Force CF-18s based in Lithuania intercepted and visually identified a Russian electronic warfare and surveillance aircraft. This interception clearly demonstrates the capability both of our equipment and personnel. I thank our armed forces for their efforts. Now, while I'm on my feet, Mr. Speaker, let me just say how proud I was to hear our Prime Minister tell Vladimir Putin last week, and I quote, "You need to get out of Ukraine."
Order the Honourable Member for Ottawa Centre.
Mr. Speaker, the Global Terrorism Index has recorded an almost 5-fold increase in fatalities caused by terror attacks around the world. Last night, we learned the government failed to invest almost half of its $129 million budgeted for strengthening security for missions abroad. Simple question, is the government balancing its books by compromising the security of our diplomats?
The Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs.
This day as Foreign Minister was the day a diplomat in Nairobi who was at the Westgate shopping mall was killed in a terrorist attack. I want to say very directly, very forcefully to the member opposite that the safety and security of our diplomats abroad is our top priority. There is absolutely no plan whatsoever to balance the budget on the backs of the security and safety of our diplomats abroad. They are a top priority, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Edmonton, St. Albert.
Mr. Speaker, the House is currently debating government legislation that would increase the mandate of Canada's spy agency, giving CSIS broader powers of surveillance over Canadians. But the Security Intelligence Review Committee, suffering from 2 vacancies and without a full-time chair, is already falling behind in its investigations of complaints against the agency. Even former chair Chuck Stroll stated that it might be necessary to review the role of CIRC, its resources, or both. Does the government not believe that national security should be properly balanced with effective oversight and respect for the privacy of law-abiding Canadians?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, that is exactly the objective of CIRC, to ensure, to report to Parliament, to ensure that they are obeying their mandate under the law, and that is the objective of C-44. For which we are debating right now, that will allow this mandate to be clarified, so that to make the task of judges easier and to make the CIRC allow them to do a better job.
Carried for today. Orders of the day. The Honourable Government House Leader is rising.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I did want to provide some additional comments to those I provided in a preliminary way to the question of privilege that was raised by my former NDP counterpart, the member for Skeena-Bulkley Valley. And it has been a while since the two of us had debated a privilege question, so I'm pleased to have this opportunity. Having reviewed, however, the honourable member's arguments and the precedents on point, I have no hesitation in saying that there is no prima facie case of privilege here. If anything, Mr. Speaker, the whole question of privilege is nothing but I think an attempt to deflect attention away from the excellent address that my colleague, the Minister of Finance, made last week and the news it contained, which of course was news about the strong state of our government's finances, the imminent elimination of the deficit, and of course the relative success of the Canadian economy in the face of very uncertain global economic circumstances. And that is of course news that Canadians were delighted to hear from the Minister of Finance. However, on the question of privilege relating to that statement being